much. Hello, everybody. Nice to, well, I'm not seeing you, but it's nice for you to be here and joining me on Facebook for the book launch of this one, The Beauty Within Shadow. It was out on the 1st of October, so you've probably got your copy already. So I don't really need to do this, but we're here for some fun. I hope you've had a good day, and we're going to be on for about 40 minutes. I'll just press my timer, and we're going to have 40 minutes of enjoyment. This was supposed to be happening on the 2nd of September, but technology, where would you be without it? Well, here. It didn't work on the 2nd, but it's working now. Fingers crossed that we're going to be okay. And I'm very impressed that people during the COVID-19 lockdown have been able to keep time and keep calendars. So well done for that. I'm tonight, just as a matter of interest, I'm actually wearing my, I don't know if you can see that, my Thursday socks. I just don't care anymore. That's what it is. I just don't care. In fact, I'll tell you how much I don't care. That's the other Thursday sock there. I've no idea where I've got on the other foot. So I'm going to be reckless tonight. I'm going to read poems from all the books that I've got, starting with this one. This is from The Beauty Within Shadow, and it's called Official Introduction. If you have got the book, it's on page 11 of your song sheets. Here we go. Please welcome tonight's poet, the 2019 winner of the TED Hughes Award. Isn't him? The winner of this year's National Poetry Competition is somebody completely different. Tonight's poet is not the winner of any award named after any dead poet, or any award sponsored by a coffee chain, or given by people in a small Welsh town. In 2017, he didn't win some obscure prize you've never heard of, awarded by some appointed or self-appointed judges that you've never heard of. He has not been awarded honours of any description by a monarch of any description, and has not been authorised to put 3 letters after his name for basically doing the job he's paid to do. In 2019, he wasn't named Professor of Poetry at a prestigious university. 2020, same. 2021, don't hold your breath. To be honest, I don't know why he bothered turning up. Ladies and gentlemen, with sincere apologies, Henry Normal, CSE, French grade 3. Now, obviously, that's been downgraded. It was maths A-level, grade 1 with distinction. But that's the first poem. I hope you enjoyed that. I say it's the first poem, as Matt Hancock would say, if he was counting the words. That's 109 separate poetry items delivered there. Okay, so this book is written between August 2019 and June 2020. So it goes into lockdown, and there's some poems before lockdown, but I'm hoping that the poems in this will last a long time. I hope it's not like a passing thing, like an infection. I'm hoping, you know, that these poems will stay with you forever, like herpes. So how have I got through lockdown? Well, cup of tea. That's the main thing. Nice cup of tea. Well, this is a poem called Not My Cup of Tea, page 102. Yes, there's more than 100 pages. You'll be glad to know. Here we go. As a connoisseur, I like a brew, but even at a push, robush in me mush won't do. A Sam, no thank you, ma'am. I'm happy as I am, goddamn. Darjeeling, not a char I find appealing, leaves me far from a nice warm feeling. Chamomile, don't make me smile. I'd run a mile before I drink that bile. Oolong, just tastes wrong. So does Lapsang Souchong. To save confusion, I'd add exclusion of any organic fruit infusion. Herbal tea, not for me. Ginseng, not my thing. Earl Grey, no way, Jose. Green decaf, not keen. Too naff. Masala chai, I'd rather die. Salted caramel, fucking terrible. Now, for me, it's English breakfast. A distinguished tea you want to make last, or if in an hurry, easily neck fast. Quickly done, never too tricky with a sticky bun or a chocky bicky. It's a daddy within the caddy. It's the pot that heals the spot. Snug in a mug or a bone china cup, Chug on that drug, there's no finer sup. Sipping PG tips through my lips. I can even enjoy the apocalypse. It's the beverage of whatever age. Same with Tetley or Yorkshire. Most of the rest are just plain torture. Cold poem brand, that'll be grand. Now, with my tea, I've been having these. I don't know whether you've got these near you. These are Tunnocks tea cakes. I do insist on these being at all my gigs as my rider. It's a little poem called Easy Rider. Stock Tunnocks, chocks for all stomachs, spoilers, silver and red foilers. I may plead Nerang, but I need my meringue, sitting on shortbread to support the aforesaid. Don't approx a lummox, causing shocks and flummox. Be smart fox, not dumb ox. Stock boxes and boxes of Tunnocks. No, I'm not trying to get a sponsorship deal. As Dave Gorman, a mate of mine, once used to say, I'm not into advertising, whether it be overt or subliminal. I like to do things by the book. So wordplay, I'm starting with here, and I love a bit of wordplay, and I love playing with rhyme, and a perfect masculine rhyme is when one syllable rhymes, like love and dove. That would be a masculine rhyme, a perfect masculine rhyme. A perfect feminine rhyme would be when two syllables rhyme, like salad and ballad, or frolic and bollock. So this poem is inspired by my wife. Just bear with me here. I'm going to get there she is. And it's called In Search of the Perfect Feminine. My wife said, nothing rhymes with orange. But before despair could befall her, I corrected Angela, or Ange, as I call her. That's a lovely, lovely little poem there. There we go. Right. So The Beauty Within Shadow is my 9th collection with Flapjack. I'm very proud that Paul and the team have sorted me out these. So it's with my other book, which is not Flapjack. It's like a book of, like a proper book with writing in it, and some poems and a normal family. That makes 10 books. So I've actually written 10 books in 5 years, because I retired 5 years ago, which meant I got nothing to do. So I've been writing poems, and obviously spending lovely time with my family, which has instigated more poems, strangely enough. But there you go. So yeah, this is the 9th. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some poems from each of the other books. It was actually 5 years ago that I started gigging again. That is a leaflet from a gig I did 5 years ago this week. I mean, I say a leaflet. Yeah, you didn't get a frame with the leaflet. That would be a bit impractical. You have to hold it up and put it in your pocket. But 5 years ago today, I started gigging again, because I've been 20 years in television. But I started writing poetry again because of wanting to talk about my son. And I've got a poem here from this book, A Normal Family, which I'll read, which is the first poem I wrote after 20 years, and it's based on this photo here. I'll show you this photo. So that's a photo of me and Johnny, and I was looking at it, and it caused me to write this. Photos with my son. Johnny is not interested in having his photo taken. When prompted, he will look at the lens. His hands are likely to move at any moment. I suspect he's not sure what is expected of him. Smile, he says. He doesn't smile. He just says smile, echoing the words from behind the camera. So I wrote some poems about him, and then I did the gig that I've shown you the leaflet for. And then they asked this firm asked me to write a book, Two Roads, a part of, it's the same firm actually, John Murray, that did Byron's book. I don't know whether you know, they actually burnt Byron's autobiography. Now, considering what we know about Byron already, then that must have been some weird stuff going on in the autobiography. Anyway, I thought that's very good. Byron's publisher, that sounds good. So, and then I found out they did Origin of the Species as well. And I thought, bloody hell, this is I'm in good company here. And then I looked further down the list, and they got Pam Ayres. So I thought, I know which end of the market I'm aiming at. Anyway, I'm obviously, from being from Nottingham, sometimes compared with Byron, except I didn't sleep with my sister. So this is a lovely book you can get, and the dedication is to Johnny. If you know anything about autism, you'll understand this. It says, dedicated to our son Johnny, who you may not be surprised to learn has absolutely no interest in this book. So that's that one. So the next poem is from this book, which was the first full book of poems I wrote after the 20-year break. And so I've been working in television for 20 years. Now, I've made about 450 television programs and about a dozen films. But the thing is, I saw all the stuff that we didn't make, and a lot of it was great. And it reminded me how much creativity is out there. So this is a prayer for the rejected, and it's dedicated to all the creative people out there. A prayer for the rejected. We start from nothing and build, and you may judge down from perfection, catalogue all that we are not, measure against legends and eons, ignore mitigation, dismiss originality as untested, discard handcrafted as unprofessional, destroy with a whim, discount our unborn, belittle our dreams, and despite all this, again, we start from nothing and build. So I do love this book. It's got some great poems in it. That's from Flapjack. You can get that one. So on the new book, back to that, I've got a poem which is about this chap here. I was thinking about how, no matter how, oh, look at that, that's my library. No matter how we think we're having a hard time, there's always somebody worse off than you. And I think this chap's got it pretty hard. Here we go, so you can see him. There we go. A baby sloth. So this is called Slow Song of the Baby Sloth. I will lick my mother's lips to learn what to eat. I will digest my food at the slowest rate. Usually I'm more leaf than meat, as much as 2/3 of my body weight. I will watch the world upside down. My coat will be adorned in algae. I have poor sight and hear little sound. My defence is to be part of the greenery. I'm helpless on the ground, but I can swim 40 minutes underwater. I can hold my breath. I'm the only animal named after a sin. I can remain hanging, even after death. We sloths nourish moths that exist solely on us, biting and blood-sucking flies, lice and ticks, mites and bugs. When we do move, it's mostly at night. For 5 months I will stay with my mother. I will die if I fall from the canopy. I can't expect help from another. Not even a parent will heed my plea. I will urinate and defecate about every 7 days. I will go to the same spot each time, although digging a hole in the earth and covering it away, I'm vulnerable to predators whilst doing so. Burying my excreta near the trunk of a tree, I'll nourish the cercopia, and it'll in turn nourish me. Moths which live in my fur will leave and lay their eggs in my feces. Larvae will hatch, and on those feces they'll feed. When mature, they'll fly up, and on my flesh proceed. For most of my life, I'll lie motionless in fear. This way I may live past my 20th year. Puts the cold sore into perspective, doesn't it, really? back. There we go. Right. So this is a new poem. This one, it's not in a book. This next, oops, me. This next one, it's brand new, world premiere. Things I wouldn't be seen dead in. So I've got a little bit of headgear for this. This is what we bought Johnny. I hope you can hear me okay. It's what we bought Johnny in case he doesn't like wearing the small masks. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking flash dance. I can understand that. I won't be doing a dance like Jennifer Beal. To What a Feeling. Although Ange did say that she'd come in and throw a glass of water over me. This is called Things I Wouldn't Be Seen Dead In. I'll never wear a onesie. I'll never wear Crocs, tank top, flip-flops, sandal with socks. If you see me wearing dungarees, kill me, please. A puffer jacket is in that bracket. But a covering for my face is ace and makes the chances greater that later someone won't be wearing a ventilator. So it's very confusing with some of the regulations at the minute. You can go in a cafe and you can go in shops and stuff like that. But if you have people around, it's very difficult. So what I do is I invite people around, and I've installed a till that seems to sort the matter out. So this next poem is from this book. This is another book. I'm doing them in chronological order. That's me when I was in Manchester, which I lived for about 10 years. I was about 20 then. And this is a book with all the early Manchester poems in. And this is a love poem I wrote to my wife, who I met in Manchester. It's called Within Your Arms. If you were water, I would laze in your caress. If you were fire, I would bathe in your passion. If you were air, I would breathe in your perfume. And if you were wood, if you were wool, I would wrap myself in your warmth. And if you were darkness, I would lose myself in you forever. So a bit of a romantic when I was younger. I still am, I suppose. I've written a poem in the new book, Beauty Within Shadow, based on Elizabeth Barrett Browning's poem, or sonnet, I should say. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. So this is my version of that. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. None, nil, nada. On no account, no ways. Not a touch, a tad, a trace, not a dab, a dram, a dash. I hate your stupid lying face. It's a face I'd like to smash. Nothing doing, not a smidgen, 18 you's my new religion. Not a spot, a speck, a shred, I'd laugh a lot if you were dead. No small change, no small beer, you need no ready reckoner here. A whole lot of not a jot is the love for you I've got. To hit the spot, I hope you roll. Not a bee, not in the least, less than the number of the beast. No need for calculators, no need to draw a graph, no need to catch you later, you can do the math. Not a crumb, the total sum, not a soup's on, it's all gone. Work this out in calculus, there's one of me and none of us. It all adds up to less than naught, value of a negative sort. Zero is not quite the right vicinity. My love for you is minus infinity. So we're whizzing through them. Right, the next one is from this book, Raining Upwards. I hope my eyesight's going to hold up on this. This one's dedicated to the government, and if my eyesight does go, I'm going to have to have a little drive around, aren't I, and visit a castle or something. So this is called I'd Like You to Know, dedicated to the government. I think it's important that we write our own version of what's happening, as opposed to the government's fictional version. I'd like you to know. When you feel you've handled the situation, when you've used the jargon, applied the textbook, when you've selected only the supporting facts, edited memory and redrawn history, when you've ignored the question and deftly changed the subject, when you've gone on the attack to avoid the obvious and leave no space for reply, when you think you've got away with it, when you're patting yourself on the back for being so clever, I'd like you to know I can see your lies. So I did go to try and get myself tested in Brighton recently. I don't know anybody has done that. So the Amex Stadium you have to go to in Brighton, and I went up and there was nobody there. nobody there, and there's a sign said COVID testing in the rear. And I thought, well, nobody wants someone stuck up their arse, do they? I can see why there's nobody here. Anyway, I've written a poem in the new book, which is about my manifesto. And it's good to have a manifesto. A lot of art people have manifestos. Sort of tells people what they're trying to do. So this is that. It's called 20th Century Urban Peasant Poetry Manifesto. This poetry is the butter on the toast merging with the beans, recognizing your father's face in the mirror, the smile that greets a stranger, the bearing of pain in the muscle, the child that stands back up, a whisper from the bathroom overheard, a kiss on a lover's forehead, scars under a long-sleeved shirt, the candle lit by the skeptic, unable to take itself too seriously, fat face. Next poem is by a book that's not out yet. This is called People's Republic of Mancunia. So this is a Flapjack book that'll be out later in the month, and it's the photographs of Rick Jundy, and he's done loads of great photographs of Manchester. If you're watching me from Manchester, there's loads of great photos, and all the Flapjack poets, I think all of them, most of them anyway, have done a poem dedicated to one of the photos, and this is the photo that they sent me, which I think is great. And that, as you'll know if you know Manchester, that's the centre of Manchester. So I wrote a poem called Centred, which I'd like to read for you now. Here we go. Too many people have hidden away, as though their pain only deserves shadow, as though their mother and father never dreamt of light, as though their ancestors hadn't loved and died in darkness, as though generation after generation hadn't wept the clouds dry, as though life itself should cower. Not today. This is where I make a stand. Today, I create the universe. The sun can revolve around me. So they're going to have a launch for this later on. Do look out for that. Keep in touch with Flapjack's Facebook page. So what's next? One from this one. So this is in Manchester. It's been in Manchester in my 30s. The Department of Lost Wishes. And there's a little poem. I saw a florist next to a butcher. And I thought, what a lovely image that was, because if you think about the nature of a florist and you think about the nature of a butcher. So I sort of made up a little relationship between these two people. So this is called The Rhapsody of the Florist and the Butcher. Amid new life, she skips. In death, his grip is strong. She gives him her tulips. He gives her his tongue. Nice and simple, that one, isn't it? There you go. During the pandemic, it's good to keep your morale up. And so this next poem is called I'm Not Good at Self-Depreciation. There we go. I've fallen out of 8 with myself of late. No more do I gnaw at my core, nor abhor each character flaw. The time for self-loathing when you're decomposing. Now beating myself up is not a cup from which I sup. To get my own goat, don't float by moat. I'm not giving myself a hard time. On matters self-critical, my chatter's apolitical. It's unwise to self-despise and disenfranchise, to manifest a detest at doing your best. I've no compulsion for self-repulsion, no animosity in my verbosity, no facility for hostility towards my ability. I'm happy with this entity me. To be this entity, you see, I've made an amigo of my ego, ergo negativity. I simply torpedo. I've no bone to pick, nor no boner about my own homegrown persona. Non-starter as a martyr, I'm persona grata. I love messing around with rhymes and words. I do enjoy it. A a lot of you were watching me on Facebook, and thank you very much. I hope some of you following me on Facebook. I do each morning. I sit and I have a look at what else is on Facebook, and lots of inspirational quotes. A lot of them I find a bit trite, but I did pull up one of my own up, which was by Samuel Goldwyn. Samuel Goldwyn used to say some marvelous things. My favourites of his were "Include me out," and "Don't pay any attention to critics, don't even ignore them." The image that struck with me recently was somebody put up a young girl that was clinically obese, and she was sort of scantily clad, scantily clad, I suppose. She'd got not that many clothes on, so you could see the extent of her weight. And she was next to another girl of the same age that was anorexic. And the two images together I found quite moving and quite haunting. And the quote underneath was, "Be kind. You don't know what personal battles others are fighting." I thought that hit the mark. I thought that was great. I'm 12 years older than Angela, and I've come to terms with the idea that when I die, Johnny probably won't pay much attention. I'm not sure whether he'll grieve or anything like that. I don't think that's in his nature. And I've come to terms with that. And I did write in one of my poems, "The absence of loss is no loss at all." But it is worth remembering that even the most cheerful of people are fighting battles, and we all are. So this is a poem from this Phantom Breath. And it's called "This is the Way We Say I Love You These Days." We sit like Morecambe and Wise, Weetabix and tea in bed, fresh water and a tablet. The curtains frame the sea and the sky, and even you, who are so full of life, welcoming the day, wondering who will be left to watch you die. Being from Nottingham, I did have a go at reading some D.H. Lawrence, and read his poems. Towards the end, he seems very obsessed with the word oblivion, which I found a bit weird. It's a bit heavy metal for D.H. Lawrence. I mean, he might have been a heavy metaler for all I know, but so I've written this poem. This is in a book called The Anthology of Tomorrow, and it's an anthology by Flapjack with lots of Flapjack poets in it, and I'd recommend it. I've got about 3 poems in here. Oblivion is truly democratic, admirably consistent in logic, promises nothing it can't deliver, can't be bought or blackmailed or bargained with, can't be conned, bullied or betrayed. Oblivion cures all pain in its embrace, unburdens all responsibility, it clears space for new possibilities, it redistributes all intrinsic wealth. Oblivion's inevitable and no more unwelcome in any universe than either the consistent speed of light, the creation of hydrogen, or the implausible wonder of life itself. So I lived in Manchester, I say, for about 10 years, and I had a great time. I was young and starting out in my career, and I really enjoyed it. My thoughts did turn to death occasionally, especially when I was waiting to take off from Manchester Airport. And this little poem, it's not in any of the books, but I thought you might like it. Thoughts on takeoff at Manchester Airport. Must we arrive at Heaven's door via the Wythenshawe streets, some strange celestial package tour, or sucking boiled sweets? So for this next poem, I've got me winter wear. There we go. invested in one of these. You get them on the internet. Very good for winter wear. There are two types of people you'll meet during COVID. Avoid them both. So this is called the open face balaclava. Here we go. Bring back the balaclava. There's nothing suaver like a scarf with a hat, but less palaver than that. Don't reserve it for skiing. It's for general well-being. A head sock with a hole in, especially for seeing, though this helmet may well sweat, there's no disagreeing. Circulation revivers for Arctic survivors, embracing the face of racing drivers. They keep out the cold for deep sea divers. Sported by astronauts or cops at airports, people with warts and spots of all sorts. For any cold snap on the weather map, this Templar cap with a front-facing gap, that's the chap you should seek to unwrap. It's a cosy headgear for all folks to wear. Knitted, fitted, friend of the zitted, ears with warmth, benefited, avoids viruses being transmitted, warm back to front if you're not that quick-witted. These woolly ballies are not just for scallies and should never be viewed as a down market snood, or even meaner, a poor man's pashmina. For headgear to wear, I'd much rather go no farther than pull on a woolen balaclava. Never got Ted Hughes wearing a balaclava for a gig, did you? You've got to move on. Things have got to move on. So my most important job during lockdown is changing Johnny's painting water. So my son paints. That's one of his paintings behind me there. And this is his painting water. Now this glass here used to be like that till he started painting with it. And I love this glass. It's developed a character of all its own. So it's my job to pour this into the sink and swill it away and get some new. So I've written a poem about that. It's called Changing Water. I tip the barnacle glass with its blisters of colour and let the soup explode into the kitchen sink. Bright white is suddenly dashed with purple brown as the splatter patterns stretches its fingers to all sides of the hollow cube. Then turning the tap, the paint swirls, thinning to dusky pink around the stainless steel rim of the plug hole and into the black. Stabs of scarlet and gold spark like fireworks as I bend the brushes against the porcelain, and droplets dilute. Wiping the sponge, the wash spreads and tints until the last smears disappear and the basin returns to a shining blank canvas. So my son doesn't have the weight of history, art history on his shoulders. He enjoys painting. He does a thing which I really admire, because he just enjoys the art of it. He's not trying to sell it. He's not trying to impress anybody. He's just doing it for the joy of doing it. Now, I love that about him. This is a poem for all the artists out there, whether it be paint or whatever, sculpture or even words. It's called Invocation of the Nine Daughters of Zeus. It's on page 55 if you've got your song sheet. The number and names of the muses may be unknown to you, but you build a shrine to them nevertheless. And with every act of creation, you call upon the offspring of memory. Others may argue legend and divide into cults, as if the daughters of gods need their recognition. But something before language and logic, I in the mountains, hold you, whilst your art sings to please heaven and earth. I'm very proud of Johnny. He's actually got a Flapjack book of his own, Art by Johnny, which has got lots of his paintings in. Thank you, Paul, for sorting that out. He had an exhibition in Brighton, and at the largest independent place, Phoenix it's called, our largest independent gallery, and they had more people than any other poet, any other painter at that exhibition. I'm going to show you this picture. This is Johnny, age 7, starting to paint, He paints every day now, and I love the fact that he does. I've got a poem about that picture. It's in this book, Swallowing the Entire Ocean. Written so many books, I can't remember the titles. Swallowing the Entire Ocean. So this was an incident at the exhibition where I was selling his book, and a woman came up to me and she was very rude. And it seemed odd that she was very rude because I was surrounded by a lot of love at this exhibition, and there was lots of other parents with, sort of special needs kids and whatever. And so it took me back, and I had to go away and have a think about it. And then I wrote this poem. It's called Out of Place. How old was he when he learned to paint? An elderly lady asked. I reached for a book to show her a photograph of Johnny drawing when he was 7. Just tell me, the woman barked. She had no interest in the photograph. 7, I said, but more so the last 5 years. She retired to a seat in the corner. Her husband explained. They're the grandson, who was autistic. He doesn't paint at the moment, the granddad added. Visitors to the exhibition filed past, already anticipating the next painting. The joyful colours lit up the dull weather. The elderly lady sat alone for some time and avoided eye contact. Her frame hung heavy, her mind elsewhere. So I was brought up in Nottingham. I was born in Nottingham, brought up in Nottingham, and I was brought up in a council house. And the council asked me to last year to write a poem about it for some conference that they got. And I thought, a conference, I better make it sound good, and didn't want to let the side down. So this is treatise on the social discourse concerning council housing in the 1960s and 70s, addressed to the child of a private property owner. Now you'll be glad to hear that the actual poem isn't as long as the title. As a kid, what I remember most is I had a place to call home. A bloke from the council painted our door, and you had to paint your own. So at the start of lockdown, the poetry books apparently started selling, and I think it was coincided with the shortage of toilet rolls, maybe. To watch out for those paper cuts, so they can be nasty. This is a poem for Paul at Flapjack. Robert Graves said there's no money in poetry, but then there's no poetry in money either. This is called Free Verse at Discount Prices, page 22. There's no big books in poetry books, no budgetary boom with a slim volume. The general rule is no spondoolies. No career's crueler for lack of mauler. The weight of wampum will underwhelm. Royalties appear only in the quantum realm. The financial projection for a new collection will hardly evoke an instant erection. Yes to tender words, no to legal tender. Less Johnny Cash, more Stephen Spender. To expect literary lolly is fruitless folly. Even with off rhymes, you're off your trolley. No bread and jam in an epigram. No chunk of change in a cleru. A magnum opus is monetarily hopeless. Revenue due for a new IQ. Barely a bob or two. You'll never get rich quick with a limerick, never pack a bundle on the back of a rondel, not cement a cent, coining a lament. To earn a load from an ode is seldom a la mode. Little won't take an iddle. A traditional ballad is also invalid. However clever your elegy, it'll never a big seller be, you'll ever be the fella with 50p. Each villanelle's a bagatelle, savings from a sonnet, don't bank on it. No matter how moving or funny, you'll forever be financially unsound. Your name will never be synonymous with money, unless you're Ezra Pound. So this poem is about, this is in Beauty Without Shadow, and it's page 40. It's called Help Us Within the Jar. It's about those who at times feel all is lost. I'm prone to that. I think a lot of people are. Elpis is another name for hope. The Greeks and Romans, they had lots of different names for the same thing. So Pandora's box, or which is sometimes called Pandora's jar. She opened the jar, and all the troubles of the world came out, and hope was left inside, or as some say, Elpis was left inside. So this is called Elpis within the jar. My car throbs like an old tractor or a faulty spin dryer. 3-point turns inscribe the snow as spirograph. Rain dilutes winter into a flavourless slushy. One of these poems will be my last, although no more significant than any other. Somewhere along the way, someone seems to have lost something. My wife hates these lines and tells me darkness is upsetting in those you love. The sun and the clouds conspire to cast shapes on the sea. One of these breaths will be my last, although no more significant than any other. If I stand back from the screen, I fear the next line. A skin tent held by brittle bones, I long to find a new truth that I can tell myself. I cling to the thought that Elpis within the jar is still Elpis. So as comes to us all, I'm getting older. This is a poem from my previous book to this one, called Striking Invisible. We're nearing the end. Let's have a little look. So, endgame. Demoting a passion to an hobby, the parameters of my dreams, it seems, are simply not viable. I am resigned to amateur status with wish fulfillment unreliable. Now in my 60s, I finally bow to reason. I can certainly rule out playing for England at the end of next season. So, where are we? Yes, now. So for those of you on Facebook who follow me, you might have seen that I put up a poem recently, which was entitled Less Poetic, Hooligan, More Valdunican. So it's playing with the idea of being old. My favourite line from that was, more of an easy listen, less of a queasy frisson. People wrote in with better lines, I'm glad to say. Gina Stewart wrote in with less Brian Ferry, more Bristol cream sherry, which I thought was great. And then Will Blake wrote in less Brian Ferry, more Brittany Ferries. So I thought I'm going to have to rewrite this. So this is called Saga Louts, it's for those no longer hip, more hip replacement. Less Michael less Michael Stipe, more Slippers and Pipe. Less Ramones, more Aching Bones. Less Nirvana, more Brand with Sultana. Less Linkin Park, more Blinking in the Dark. Less AC/DC, more Feeling Queasy. Less Sex Pistols, more Ealing Crystals. Less Iggy Pop, more Lager Top. Less Jimi Hendrix, more Twin Tub Bendix. Particularly happy with that line. Less Motorhead, more Sourdough Bread. Less Whitesnake, more Organic Wheat Flake. Less Axl Rose, more Waitrose. Less Pink Floyd, more Easily Annoyed. Less Van Halen, more Self-Sensors Failing. Less Foo Fighters, more Early Nighters. Less Kings of Leon, more Pants with Weon. Less Eric Clapton, more Pants. You've probably enough of that poem. So anyway, so I put that up, and then Facebook comments come back, and there's some great Facebook comments come back. I thought I'd read you some of these. So this is from other people. Less Metallica, more Sciatica. Less Let's Get It On, more All Me Back's Gone. Less Clint Boone, more Mills and Boone. Less Let's Do It Again, more Snatchogen. And my favourite, less Iron Maiden, more Cream Teas Laid On. So the title track of The Beauty Within Shadow, this is it. There is often darkness once your eyes adjust. And when your sight fails, it's said, other senses heighten. Even with your lids tight, the mind can shine like the midday sun. And in the blackest void, who knows what awaits? Maybe another sense rises to help us become light ourselves, or returns us to a time when all was in balance, awaiting ignition. So I hope you've enjoyed the poems tonight. I've got one final poem for you from this book here, which is, that sounds good, doesn't it? That's what my sister Val says, it's a proper book. So you might get it to jumble sale. Now I've got 3 more of these Zooms or Facebook, I don't know what you call them, live feeds. There's one on Thursday, which is Thursday the 10th at 7 p.m. and 7 with 5 Leaves, which is a bookshop in Nottingham. There's one on Friday the 18th, which is like a week of Friday, at 7 o'clock for the North Notts Festival, and that's with Paul Cookson. So both Paul and I will read, and then we'll have a little chat. So I'm hoping that all these will be very much unique things, and I'm going to try and do different poems at them. So if you've enjoyed tonight and you fancy having another listen, do come into one of those. And then finally on the 23rd of September at 8 o'clock, because they like to stop up later in Chortle. At 8 o'clock, the Chortle Festival, I shall be doing, as I say, different poems that you can enjoy. So this is the last one tonight. Thank you for bearing with me, and I hope you've enjoyed yourself. This is called Hold Me With Certainty in This Heavenly Chaos. I'll probably be cremated, I would imagine, and I'd like a bench overlooking the sea, and I'd like this on the bench. Lead me by the hand to where pirates sleep, where heirs cross the sea to find me, where my skin shines and my lungs draw deep, and leave all fear and doubt behind me. Thanks a lot. See you again soon.